But that should be a gradual process. कभी भी ऐसा नहीं होता कि from the day one only you are writing very brilliant answer. In the test series, you are expected to write the 20 questions simultaneously. But in the assignment question, you can right now devote comparatively more time to think about that particular question. Now, the second important pointer that we have to talk about is the structuring or the organization of answer. The most important key takeaways is that they have started writing answer. This is very, very important because many of time we think that it will be done automatically. It is never done until you will start doing this particular thing from the very beginning only. Hello and good afternoon everyone. I am Vishal Salsekar and today we are going to continue the series that we had started with the toppers insights on the answer writing, and today in this series we are going to discuss about how their initial answers were looking like. Because see, whenever there are certain kind of toppers copies, generally the kind of questions that you are able to observe in those copies are very decent and very good kind of answers, right? But what to assess when they have just started writing their answers? Because initially there might be certain kind of constraints. They might not be having that much amount of data available with them. They might not be having that much good structures of those answers. There might be issues with respect to presentation related things. There might be issues with respect to language also. So all these kind of things, along with understanding the context of the questions, highlights that what and how to start writing the answer. So basically in today's discussion, what we are going to do, we are going to skim through certain answers or the assignment answers that were written by the toppers of this particular year, including AIR 2 Archita Goyal, AIR 3 your Archit Dongre, and also AIR 16 Madhav. Right, so we are going to synthesize and we'll try to take certain kind of key takeaways that how their initial answer writing reflects. Now, how they have started writing their answers initially. So for this particular thing, we have to go back to the classroom assignments. Now, for those who are not aware what is classroom assignment, so whenever a student joins the foundation course, for each and every class, there are certain kind of practice avenues that are available for the students, right? So in that particular series, assignment is one such important thing that you are getting on a daily basis for each and every class, which is having the means relevant topics. So what is assignment? It is a subjective question. Now, what is the nature of this particular question? So the nature of question is comparatively basic in nature. Why they are kept basic? Because initially what happens that there is certain kind of inertia. There are certain kind of issues when you start your answer writing. Whatever I have suggested in the initial part, all these kind of issues each and every one of us faces when we start our answer writing. So basically this assignment writing is first step to write the answer to the questions which will build your base for the UPSC answers writing. Right? And we have in the last video already discussed about the importance of the means for the UPSC examination. And the answer writing will be very, very, very important for this particular means examination. Now coming to this particular thing, that this classroom assignment, why does it matter? Because the classroom assignment is a first step that you are taking with respect to the preparation of the civil services examination. So there are certain kind of objective type of question, those are available with the classes, but the assignment question is one such very, very important thing that is also getting evaluated. So what you are going to get over here is, and also those toppers have also got those particular things that they have got a question. Now based upon that particular question, they have started doing certain kind of thought process on those particular question through the brainstorming, through the kind of content synthesization, through the revision also. All these kind of things have helped them in order to jump that particular step and move ahead on this particular ladder. And the results we are already seeing that the AIR 2, AIR 3 and AIR 16, those which are from the classroom program of VisionIAS, those have written very beautifully the assignment answers also. So basically, as we move forward in our discussion, what these assignment answers of the topper reveal. So what we are going to do today in this today's session, that we have tried to incorporate certain kind of questions from the toppers which are revealing that initially they were working upon their structures of the answer. They were working upon the brainstorming that we had discussed in the last video, that there is a strategic thinking that is very, very, very important from the examination perspective. Then another important part is they were working upon the structure of their answer, that how to write the introduction, how to link that particular introduction to the demand of the body part of the question, and then how to assess that whether we have completely written all the parts of the question or is there anything else that is further needed from this particular question's perspective. And lastly, there should be certain kind of optimistic conclusion. There will be certain question in the assignment where you will be struggling to write like how to conclude this particular answer. And in the UPSC also this kind of dilemma you will be facing, when the question might be static, when the question might not be having that much way forward related things, then how to conclude. So all these kind of things we are going to discuss in this particular today's discussion. But what the assignment questions are revealing, that they are revealing about the nature of the topper's practice, that from the very beginning itself they have started writing the assignments which are very, very fundamental for the preparation of the UPSC CSE examination, right? So now let's discuss briefly about like what were the initial assignments that were written by certain toppers, right? So we have taken one question from Harshita, and this is her classroom assignment question. So let's discuss about this particular question, and I hope that this question might be visible to you. Now let's see. I'll read the question for you, and this is the basic question based upon the economy class. So explain the measurement of the inequality using the Lorentz curve and the Gini coefficient, and the word limit is mentioned as the 150 word. Now, as we have discussed already, that for the 150 words and 10 marker question, you are going to get the 2 pages, right? Now see, as you have observed this particular question is pretty straightforward, right? And we can assume that if this was the assignment question of that particular class and Harshita has attempted this particular question, in this case, in the class, there might be this particular topic of inequality that might have been taught in detail. Then while addressing about the inequality and highlighting the inequality, there were certain kind of measures that might also be taught in the class. For example, Lorentz curve, for example, Gini coefficient. So what this assignment question is helping us to assess, that first we have done the classes, after the classes we have now revised those particular concept, and through the assignment question, what we are doing, we are trying to incorporate whatever we have studied in the class, and now through the revision and through incorporation in the answers, we are trying to give the structure to that particular thought process. So let's discuss about the strategic thinking of all the 3 toppers that we are going to take. So first answer is of Harshita. We will take the Archit's and the Madhav's answer also. So first we are going to discuss about the aspect which is the strategic thinking. What is strategic thinking? Means about that particular question, what comes in your mind first? What is the structuring of that particular question? What are the brainstorming pointers that you are going to get? What will be the word limit that you are going to set for that particular question? And one advantage this assignment question is giving you, that it is a single question. In the test series, you are expected to write the 20 questions simultaneously, but in the assignment question, you can right now devote comparatively more time to think about that particular question, to structure your thoughts, to gather all the kind of ideas that you are getting, to revise the concept that were discussed in the class. And after that particular thing, then you can note down certain pointers, you can prioritize those particular pointers, you can decide what kind of presentations you are going to incorporate. So all these kind of things ke liye you have pretty decent amount of time. And initial part mein these assignments are there, so basically they are also helping us to structure our answer. And gradually, see, we all know that the speed of writing will increase, the kind of thought gathering will also increase. But once the structure is clear to us, then automatically we will have the content to fit in those particular structures of the answer. So assignment helps in that particular manner. Now just I'll give you a glance for what kind of strategic thinking Harshita has incorporated in this particular answer. So if you read about this particular introduction, so as the question was asking about the measurement of the inequality using the Lorentz curve and the Gini coefficient. So the question ka core theme or the central theme was around the inequality. So there was certain aspects mentioned about the income inequality or the economic inequality that Harshita has highlighted. Then she has written about the Lorentz curve. Then she has talked about the Gini coefficient. And then she had also tried to talk about that how measuring of inequality will be helpful for the government in order to formulate the policy. Now, can you observe that what kind of thought process has been incorporated in this particular answer? And how come that was possible? That was only possible when you are doing the strategic thinking of your answer. Means you are devoting more time for the brainstorming. You are devoting more time for the thoughts gathering. You are giving more time in order to structure your thoughts. So all these kind of things will be possible when you are devoting time to the answer. Similarly, if we talk about the next answer, which is written by Archit, again, it is on the different theme. So the question says here that discuss the salient aspects of the ordinance making power of the President of India. Now see, in this particular class, we can assume that the topic of the ordinance or the power of President with respect to the ordinance making might have been covered. So there was this kind of question which was put or the kept as the assignment question of this particular class. Now, what his thought process reflects that he got the clarity about the demand of the question, which is about the salient aspect of the ordinance making power. Now, whose power is this? It is the power of the president. Now, in India, is the only president is the authority who can promulgate the ordinance? No, there is the state governor also. There is the article related to state governor also. But since in the class it was mainly covered about the president and that particular topic might be the topic of the class, so Archit has talked about the president's power. He has given the constitutional article. So that reflects his thought process, that reflects his gathering of the thoughts about that. Then in the entire answer, he has structured his answer. He has quoted certain kind of case laws. Now, how that will be possible at the very initial part when he has started answer writing? That will be only possible when you are gathering your thoughts, when you are giving time to gather your thoughts, right? And then you can see that there are certain kind of cases, maybe the Bombay case, maybe the DC Wadhwa case. You can relate with these particular cases. You can quote the constitutional article. Now see, this kind of thoughts gathering, now you might think that yes, there may be certain pointers that you might be considering that not that apt or maybe substantiated, but these are the initial aspects of the answer writing. You have to just think about that these are the initial piece of thoughts, and from there they have started writing more and more. After writing this, he might have got certain kind of feedback about the thought process, about substantiation, about certain kind of maybe language or word limit. Then there might be certain incorporation also. And eventually we are seeing that in the toppers copies, in the last video, we have seen that how those things are reflected in the actual rank. And successively, he was able to secure better and better marks in the successive attempts. In the last attempt, 153, and this time it is the All India rank 3. So that reflects the strategic thinking. Similarly, when we talk about the another topper's answer writing, which is like who is also the part of the Classroom Foundation course program, who is Madhav Agarwal, All India rank 16. And now read the question. What do you understand by the heat budgeting? A question from geography. What do you understand by the heat budgeting? Briefly explain the process through which the Earth atmosphere system maintains the heat balance. Means the question is fair, simple. Question is comparatively straightforward. No such thought process is involved in this particular question. Matlab, there are no that much opinion, not a lot of current affairs linkage, but it is up to the student who is attempting this particular question to incorporate certain kind of good pointers also. So this reflects the strategic thinking. Now, how Madhav has incorporated those particular things in his answer that he has talked about, because the question ka central theme was about the heat budgeting. He had started the answer with the heat budgeting, then he structured his answer talking about the process of the heat budgeting. He had given a lot of facts and some kind of like numerical values also with respect to that, and in the end what he had done through the application of mind, he had tried to relate it with the issues like climate change and the global warming. Now with the strategic thinking, with the certain kind of like aspects that you can think from your mind, and you can just try to collect your thoughts and gather them all at one place and write the answer. Because in this particular class also, this geography topic regarding heat budgeting might have done in the class, and then after revision, after the thought process, he has written this particular answer. And initial answer, though it is about the factual thing, maybe about certain kind of process with respect to the heat budgeting, but that particular thing aptly reflects the demand of the question, and also try to relate certain kind of dynamic aspects. So I hope that with this particular aspect you might have got certain idea about the strategic thinking, at least in the initial part. Because see, one most important thing with respect to answer writing is the initial inertia. I've seen many students, I came across many students who says ki like, sir, we are now starting the answer writing, and that month is maybe the Jan or Feb or maybe the March. Now the prelims is about to come. So basically you will not be able to do much with your answer writing, and then prelims and mains ke beech ka gap is very, very less in order to start with answer writing. You can practice at that point of time, but to start at that point of time may be taking a lot of toll on you. So basically, if you continuously writing one or two questions on a regular basis, which is being provided through the classroom assignments, that gives you adequate practice, that gives you adequate feedback, that feedback is being incorporated by you, and then you are working upon those particular things and doing better in the subsequent assignments or maybe in the tests, right? So this is about the strategic thinking. Now the second important pointer that we have to talk about is the structuring or the organization of answer. Now refer again all the three answers and try to look towards the structure of the answer. So for example, the first question that was written by Harshita. Now the question ka demand kya tha? The question's demand was to highlight about the inequality and to give the measurement of inequality by the Lorentz curve and the Gini coefficient. दो स्पेसिफिक चीजें पूछी गई हैं. फर्स्ट यू हैव टू हाईलाइट अबाउट द measurement of inequality. So basically income inequality she has highlighted. Then basically the question demanded that you have to highlight about the Lorentz curve and how the curve is identifying inequality. You have to talk about that, and then you have to talk about the Gini coefficient, that how this particular coefficient is reflecting the inequality. So it is a straightforward and comparatively static question. But it is up to us that how we can incorporate certain kind of current aspects also. So you can see first the introduction was written that income inequality refers to the unequal distribution of the income and wealth among the people. And then she had talked about there are certain other measures of income inequality such as Palmer ratio is there, quintile ratio is there, the Gini coefficient and the Lorentz curve. Then she has talked about the Lorentz curve. She has given a graph of the Lorentz curve which highlights the income inequality. She has talked about that. Then further she has talked about the Gini coefficient, which was the second part of this particular question. First was about the Lorentz curve, second was about the Gini coefficient. She has explained the Gini coefficient, she has written even the equation, she has highlighted, she has also provided the details about that. She has also given certain kind of country specific example like India and also Lesotho's inequality. And then she has talked about that how this coefficient or how this particular measures are important to identify certain kind of gaps in the policy making, and also give a way ahead in this particular regard. So can you see the good structuring of this? So if you do the better strategic thinking of this particular question, then only you will be in a position to identify different parts and to write about that. Now we will talk in the next segment about like how and what pointers were written and how we can furthermore substantiate those particular things. But see, these are the initial answers. Again, I am telling you, these are the initial answers. These are for the reference that from where they have started, how they have started to write the answers, and also from here you can also start writing the answer. Similarly, when we talk about the Archit's answer, let's see how he had done the structuring or the organization of the answer. The question का demand was to discuss the salient aspect of ordinance making power of the President of India. He has written about the ordinance making power of the President of India, which particular constitutional article is giving President the power to promulgate the ordinance. Then he had talked about the ordinance. What is an ordinance? It was provided in order to give idea that hota kya hai ye cheez, what is this ordinance. So he has provided that also. Then he had talked about the salient features of the ordinance, because this was the demand of the question, salient aspect of the ordinance making. So salient aspects kya hai ordinance making ke, he has written pointers 1 2 3 4 5 6 like this. He had given different pointers regarding the same. Now the question was asking for discuss. डिस्कशन कभी भी बिना इश्यूज बताए नहीं होता है. इन डिस्कस यू हैव टू गिव सर्टेन काइंड ऑफ इश्यूज, मे बी लिमिटेशंस. सो ही हैज गिवन सर्टेन काइंड ऑफ इश्यूज विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द ordinance making power. He has talked about that, and when the space was less, he has tried to restructure that in the brief keywords. So he has incorporated brief keywords, and then he had given a way ahead that how these particular misutilization can be prevented, and he has quoted certain kind of case reference also. So can you see how the structuring is very clear? There might be certain chances that maybe certain space utilization or maybe any other thing can be further improved. But yes, these are the feedback mechanisms where you will be gradually improving upon those particular things. Yes or no? So basically this was the structuring aspect of the Archit's copy. Next is the assignment answer written by Madhav. So now here try to see the structuring. The question was about the heat budgeting. So he has defined heat budgeting that despite receiving the constant solar energy from sun, Earth maintains its temperature over its surface. This is done by maintaining a balance between the incoming and the outgoing solar energy, which is called the heat budgeting. Then he had given a diagram in order to depict what is heat budgeting, but then he had explained this process, because the question was asking about briefly explain the process through which the Earth atmosphere system maintains heat balance. So he had explained the process. Now very good thing that he has also provided about the numerical value. You can even avoid that particular thing, that's completely fine, but adding numerical values gives your further awareness about this particular concept. Then he has incorporated the key terminologies with respect to this particular subject, and once he had given the entire process, in the end there has to be certain conclusion. So see, the question was appearing comparatively static, so he had given a conclusion that the process is very crucial, as the slight change in this particular thing, release energy by the Earth, can lead to the various problem. One such issue arising out of this is the global warming. So he had related it with the dynamic aspect, that why maintenance of the heat is important, or the heat budgeting is the important phenomena for understanding. Is it clear? So this is about the structuring of answer, where you are able to see the segregated aspects. Now sometimes what happens that you might be writing the answer, there might be certain confusion in order to identify the clear demand. There might be issue that you will be overlapping two pointers. There might be issue that you will be repeating two specific pointers, or may not be that distinguished pointer, but you are writing it separately. So then the examiner or the mentors who are evaluating those particular copies, they will be suggesting you that how you should be incorporating these pointers, whether to club them or whether to write it separately. So basically this is going to highlight that what issues you are doing, and for them also they might have got certain kind of suggestions based upon the initial assignments writing, and through that only they have improved upon the assignment writing or maybe the answer writing, right? So I hope that regarding the structuring of answer, the things are clear to you. Now the third thing, and I would say again a very important or maybe the most important thing as far as the answer writing is concerned, because without content you can't write the answer. It's fair simple, right? So basically you have to have content for that, but a problem that student faces, or a kind of dilemma that the student faces many a time, that I should be perfecting my content before writing or before start writing the answers. Now they could have also waited for the same, but what they chose to start writing answers as and when that particular topic is just completed in that particular class, or there can be a question, because the question will be provided to you only when that particular topic or aspect is done. For every class, this is the same funda that is going on, right? So basically this particular topic, when it is done, it is giving them an opportunity to explore their thought process. So now coming to the data, facts, substantiation related aspects from the answer writing perspective, because that is also very, very important thing. So if we talk about the data, fact, structuring, so first let's take the introduction. So in the introduction part, what Harshita has done, she had explained about the income inequality, that income inequality refers to the unequal distribution of the income and wealth among the people. There are various measures of calculating income inequalities such as the Palmer ratio, quintile ratio, Gini coefficient, Lorentz curve. A beautifully written introduction. Alternatively, if you are thinking ki bhai nahi, we are not able to remember or recall, you can talk about any other thing. For example, any specific report if you came across that is highlighting the income inequality or the inequality in the wealth distribution, you could have talked about that. That might have given the current awareness about that particular thing. You could have also talked about any kind of other definition of the inequality in general and then came to income inequality. That was also fine. So see what you are doing over here, that once you have written something, there will be certain kind of feedback, and there can be multiple way of writing the central theme, because about this only you have to start. You have to start by the inequality, which is the core theme of this particular question. Now what Harshita has done, there were two aspects that were asked. First is the Lorentz curve, second is the Gini coefficient. Now how the data and facts and substantiation has been put even in the very initial answers. So let's see. There is a graphical representation that was given. It shows the income earned by any given percentage of the population. So it has pointed about the national income and the population. Then it is the perfect equality, and then it has mentioned that the inequality gap this particular area, and this is the curve with respect to the Lorentz curve, right? And it has mentioned that the straight line shows the perfectly equal income distribution, while the other line shows the actual distribution. This is the actual distribution. Means the rich people have comparatively more national income as compared to the poor one. So she has mentioned that what this graph is all about. Now see, in the classes when the faculty explains, or we are explaining certain things, we are explaining in this particular manner only. But when you have to actually incorporate those things, you have to reduce the number of words. You have to identify that what all things you can incorporate in the answer. And she has beautifully incorporated this particular pointers that highlights her awareness about the income inequality. Similarly, talking about the Gini coefficient, it is talking about the Gini index or the Gini ratio. It is derived from the Lorentz curve. She has talked about it is calculated as A divided by A plus B, and then she has talked about this. Then she has talked about like what is the range value. It is ranging from 0 to 1. 0 represents the perfect equality and 1 represents the perfect inequality. So what she is talking about, and she is later talking about that a World Bank ka jo score hai for India, that was 0.35 when she was writing this particular answer at that point of time, and Lesotho ka 0.63, indicating ki kahan income inequality kam hai or where it is comparatively higher. So she has given certain specific data, specific example. So what it is reflecting? It is reflecting her awareness about even the examiner's mindset, that yes, he or she might be expecting these kind of data also. This is giving some kind of contrast. And then in the end, she has highlighted about in the conclusion that both Lorentz curve and Gini coefficient shows the proportion of the income inequality in the country. It helps government to identify the depth of such inequalities so that the policies can be made to correct the inequalities and promote equitable distribution of the income. Though number of words are comparatively more, but still it represents a thought process. Gradually, this is the way you will reduce the number of words. She might have read this particular thing, then she might have came to conclusion that yes, I could have reduced this particular number of words. Alternatively, you could have incorporated any other way of the conclusion, but this is the way you are improving. Similarly, when we talk about the Archit's answer, again, what kind of data fact example he is using? So he has talked about the Article 123 of the Indian Constitution, which highlights the ordinance making power of the President of the India. Alternatively, there could have been also incorporation of the governor's power of the ordinance making Article 213 of the Indian Constitution. So आप वो भी use कर सकते हो. You could have started with the ordinance ka definition. That could have been also the measure to start. You could have started that it is a kind of special power that is provided in order to legislate on the matters when the parliament is not in session. That could have been also a way. So in whatever way you want to introduce, you can introduce, but that should be centered around the ordinance for this particular question. He has tried a very good approach, direct starting of the answer without using too much words. Then he has also defined the ordinance. So ordinance define kar diya. Then he has written about the ordinance that when it can be legislated. So for example, it can only be when the parliament is not in the session and can not exceed the parliamentary jurisdiction. Basically, it is as per the parliament का jurisdiction only, has a force of law, constitutional amendments नहीं कर सकते हैं इसमें, ठीक है. And then he has also talked about the that it can be used when none or the either of the parliament is not in the session. He has talked about the judicial review, the Bommai case, specifics have been talked about, president's discretion, or it has to be done on the advice of the Council of Ministers. Then he had talked about the specific limitations, and then again he has given certain kind of specifics like the spirit of federalism, like the DC Wadhwa case, like basically it should not be passing or bypassing the legislature. So these things are providing certain kind of specifics, fact, data, example. Now देखो, one thing is that in the classes maybe हो सकता है कि 4 or 5 constitutional aspects might have been discussed. In the initial answers he might have utilized 2-3. This is the process. Then you will incorporate more. You will read again that particular topic. You will try to identify that which particular areas you could have written further, and then you could have improved on that particular thing, right? So basically this was the initial assignment written by him as far as the data and facts are concerned. Now talking about the Madhav's answer, again he has started with the definition of the heat budgeting. He had given a beautiful diagram with about that. Then he has explained the process where he has mentioned about the some keywords like short wavelength, like albedo effect. Then he has also talked about certain kind of other things like long wavelength, basically how the incoming solar radiations are there and how the outgoing solar radiations are there. So basically to explain that there can be certain keywords which he has utilized, and then he has totally talked about that kitna incoming and what is the outgoing one, that is maintaining the balance. That is also proved in this particular answer. And then in the end, when he knew that the question is static, we have this opportunity to incorporate certain kind of way ahead. So he had talked about the global warming and the climate change related aspect in this. So this reflects ki how, even if not asked, but if there is an opportunity to incorporate some keyword or fact or example or data or current affairs, you can incorporate those particular things. Okay, so this is about the fact data substantiation, because that is very, very important. That adds a lot of value to your answer, and that will be possible when you are repeatedly writing answers. Now lastly, last pointer that we have to talk about is the presentation of the answer. Now again, as you are writing for the first time or you are writing for initial some questions, obviously the presentation, there are chances that you might be writing long sentences. There might be certain kind of issues that you might not be incorporating too much regarding the presentative aspects, maybe diagram, maybe certain kind of flow chart, but just refer to them. So basically, initially maybe a chance that number of word might be comparatively more, but the neatness, the cleanliness through which the answer is written, then certain kind of graphs which is properly labeled also. ऐसा नहीं है कि graph बना दिया ऐसे कि you understand what is this particular process. No, it is properly labeled. It is also explained in order to explain that particular thing to the examiner. And as and when needed, the prominent things are boxed, prominent things are underlined wherever needed. There were double quotes, there were certain definitions, there were certain other important things that were talked about, and those adds the visual appeal to the examiner. Now what this visual appeal does, in the last session also we had discussed that you have to sell your answer to the examiner, because there are very less chances that the examiner might be that much interested in reading line by line and word by word. There may be a chance that he is looking for certain keywords, and after looking for those particular keywords, his basically quest for searching in your answer is done, and then he will decide, he or she will decide that what marks he or she is going to award you. So basically, if you are highlighting those things, if you have talked about that it is talking about World Bank and highlighted, Gini coefficient ka value and highlighted, so all these things have been underlined or highlighted, that shows that you are aware about what examiner might be expecting from your side. So through the presentation, through bullet points, through underlining, through incorporation of graph, you have now incorporated all the kind of visual appeals that can be there. And then further they might have incorporated diverse aspects in their other answers also. Similarly, when we talk about the Archit's answer, again, there was underlining of the important aspect, for example, constitutional article, then defining was not done in the paragraph, it was defined and explained in this particular context in the form of certain flow, then boxed heading of this salient feature of ordinance, as and when needed there was underlining that was done also. Also, when he has to talk about the issues with respect to ordinance, he has talked again in the form of flowcharts. Important case laws, underline those particular things, written in the point format so that there is more visual appeal from the answers, right? And then in the end also he has written about certain keywords like federalism, DC Vadwa case, and other kind of recommendations of committee. So basically that has added value, but apart from value, a lot of presentative or the visual appeal also. Lastly, talking about the Madhav's answer, again, it is self-evident that if you see this particular answer, you will comparatively feel good in order to even read, because they are readable. All of them were comparatively very good readable, even if they were very initial answers. Then highlighting through the underlining aspects, then beautiful diagram that is depicting the entire process, then explaining the process also, and also talking about certain kind of things in the quotes or maybe double quotes. Now see, the one presumption they are not doing is that there is a diagram, we need not to explain the diagram. Aisa nahi hai. Even if there is a diagram, there is need to explain the process, and all of them are doing these particular things. Aisa nahi hai ki we have written something and assuming that the examiner must be knowing all these kind of things. No. Even if you are making certain graphs, you are explaining them. Even if you are making certain diagram, at least you are labeling them and explaining them briefly. If you are making certain flowchart, you are giving certain kind of context to that. You are underlining the important pointers. You are giving the case laws, you are giving the data fact examples. So all these things were done along with the good presentative aspects. So basically, if in nutshell we have to talk about these particular things, so what we had taken away from this particular assignments of the toppers. So basically this assignment answer reflects 4 important pointers that we have already discussed in the last session. First, that talks about the strategic thinking. Now this strategic thinking is not like you have to think out of the box all the time. No, you have to recollect the thoughts. So there should be the recollection of thoughts. There should be certain kind of revision that they are doing. Then they are also basically doing certain kind of brainstorming and also doing the thoughts gathering. Then second important thing they are doing is basically structuring of answers. So structuring mein basically they are talking about the introduction, body, conclusion. As and when the transitions are needed, they are doing the transitions. They are also incorporating certain kind of maybe the quotes or maybe any other important thing if it is needed. Then important thing is the data. There are facts. There are examples. Now see, if these topics are done in the class, it is not possible that the facts, data, examples, case laws that might not have been discussed in the class. So when they were discussed in the class, you have to incorporate them in your answer. Last but not the least is the presentation. So presentation also, you can observe that though simple, it is reflecting a lot of thought process, a lot of thought clarity. So these are the key takeaways, and apart from that, see, the most important key takeaways is that they have started writing answer. This is very, very important, because many of time we think that it will be done automatically. It is never done until you will start doing this particular thing from the very beginning only. Okay? So basically, while we are concluding this particular discussion about this. So already we have discussed in the last session about the innovative assessment system, but with respect to the classroom program also, these things comes inbuilt in the classroom program, where there are daily question answer writing sessions are there, live answer writing sessions are there. Even there are the feedback from the prominent mentors who will eventually help you to go about from the answers that you are currently writing to the level of answers that these people have written in their actual examination. So this reflects the changes over a period of time. See, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है कि on one day you think and you write the brilliant answer. It is a process. It starts from initially from writing one answer, two answers on a daily basis. Like assignment then goes to 4 or 5 answers on a daily basis, and then you will write 20 answers in the form of the All India Test Series. But that should be a gradual process. कभी भी ऐसा नहीं होता कि from the day one only you are writing very brilliant answer. So basically, when we are concluding this particular session, I hope that you might have got clarity about like how their initial answers were looking like, how they were writing when they have started their preparation in the very beginning, and then they have reflected upon those particular things through feedback, through the assessment mechanism, through different other things. They have incorporated a lot of value and they succeeded this particular examination with the flying color. So this is it from my side. I hope that you have got clarity about the answer writing. Thank you.